morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with my girl Arya 3 on deck. If you are working out, spoiler, this should be like a hit workout, guys. Unless we're dicking around. This is now the shortest notes I've ever taken.
I hope nobody works out to this. Like, how do you work out to a podcast just in general?
You can't run on the treadmill while you're belly laughing is the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
We're too funny.
I cannot. Like, it's gotta be music, man.
Nah, it's
Imagine
okay.
you're in the middle of like a bench press trying to rep out 225 and I just crack a killer joke. I could kill somebody.
I don't like music enough anymore, and there's not enough good new music out to always listen to music. So at least I know a podcast is going to be new to me. I don't want to hear "Halo" by Beyonce for the 500th time
so weird,
while I'm
man.
trying to squat.
I mean, how the hell you listen to Beyonce? You should have AC.
Yeah, that should never appear.
Halo.
Like, that sounds like a you problem, man.
Halo really builds. I'm not making a special workout playlist.
Do you have Spotify? You just hit fucking go to Song Radio.
Nah, I'm an Apple Music, and I got a great library of about 600 songs. I just hit shuffle. You skip through it sometimes.
You can make multiple playlists.
Yeah, I'm not doing
All right, so in this Arya episode,
Kyle, give us a recap and tell us what you thought.
Arya gets chased on a horse.
Yeah. Arya's not free, gets chased on a horse.
Yeah, yep. Kyle, what'd you think of it?
I like this one, right? This is our first all out chase scene.
There's a big thing that happens that like rips at your heartstrings.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what you're talking about, Nelson.
We lose a great friend. Been with us for 1,000 pages.
Oh, Hot Pie.
Good old Hot Pie.
I don't think that's the end of Hot Pie, right? Like, I mean, I don't think we're just losing Hot Pie.
We've already had 2 characters show up at the Sid. How many more could show up here?
I mean, why not?
It is a high traffic area.
Like, it's obviously in a good spot, right? Like, it seems to be very plot relevant, so I think people are showing up here. We did have that happen with Tyrion and Kat as well, right? Like, they just showed up at the same inn.
Yeah,
same exact day at the same exact time.
It almost happened with the brother and daughter, with Jaime and Arya, but they were a few days apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cut you off. What do you think of the chapter?
I liked it. Like I said, it was our first action chase scene, really, I think.
And Arya's like, for what is she now, 10 maybe?
Well, I did have that same, she is like 10, and I cut you off here, but I did have that same feeling as kind of before, where we've talked about this, where it's like, Arya walks, Arya gets caught, Arya has to figure out how to get out. Arya walks, Arya gets caught, and like I was like, oh no, here we go again, and then it was like, oh, maybe it's not happening, and then I don't know, like I still don't know where we ended this, but it does kind of feel like, oh no, here we are here we are walking. She's caught.
Yeah, to that point, I think in the last Arya chapter, you even said something like, "Oh, I was afraid she was just going to get caught again, and I was glad she didn't because like we've been through that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, good thing that didn't happen again." And she is a prisoner. It just took her a minute to figure it out. Yeah. And to be fair, I guess we'll get to some of this as we go.
To be fair.
Yeah. All right. So they are walking down a road. It seems they've gotten away from the river. She doesn't really know where they are. And she just thinks they're walking the wrong way. She's all in on the moss growing on the wrong side of the tree.
Oh yeah, she's onto it super fast.
But
isn't that a myth though?
We talked about this before, and I'll just point out that the reason that she's relying on the moss, right, is because, again, just like in the first Arya chapter of the book, it's really rainy, right? Which I think, again,
no sun.
People try to use weather to connect timelines too, and there wasn't Kat saying it was really rainy in her most recent chapter. Somebody I feel like was saying it was rainy, which I think helps connect chapters. Again, I haven't figured out the timeline yet, but yeah, it's rainy and cloudy. She says even if it's not raining, it's just like the sun hasn't come out for days, so she can't tell where the sun is, so she's relying on this moss for direction.
Jeff, I don't think it's false. I just don't think it's super reliable, right?
Like it might be on like the east side one time.
I think like you have to look at a lot of trees, and it just gives you a general kind of idea. Like going south, she might notice.
If you take a sample of like 50 trees in an area.
They preferred it. I just Googled. I mean, take it for what it is. They prefer to grow on the north-facing surface.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like she doesn't have a compass. She has no other option. Like, why not?
And also, didn't we say last time that it might be different in the southern hemisphere if like something has to do with it?
Does it have to do with how the light hits the surface? or
the spin.
where the light isn't hitting the surface is where.
I have no idea.
I don't know. All right,
we don't want to delve too far into the science, so we just start sounding really
you're probably
stupid.
right, Nelson.
The important part is Hot Pie has left her. He stayed with Charlotte to bake.
He said, "Fuck that. This is better than being out there." And I mean, he's kind of got a point, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he doesn't belong
he's got no reason to go to River Run. Like, why not stay at this inn and drink beer and make bread? Like, he was a peasant fool baking bread.
Yeah.
Eating rats in the street. Like, why not stay and eat duck and shit like that?
He has severely improved his predicament. Yeah.
You got to be built different to live in this world like Arya's been living. She has no problem just slurping down worms. Like, it's kind of crazy that, and again,
and drinking
I feel like,
body water.
Oh, it tastes like death. I'll go for cup 2. Yeah. Like who cares? She's a little crazy. Hot Pie never was about that. He's like making fun of Arya for eating worms. Like, I think like in the last chapter, someone's like, if I gave you a couple flies, would you drink it? And he's like, Arya would. It just shows that like they're not the same. Takes a little more to live out in the wilderness.
She's got a little bit more to play for too. Like, Hot Pie's just like kind of along for the ride type of thing. And
nobody's
that's why
looking for
it's
Hot
no
Pie.
problem for him to get off the ride too.
Because even once he left the Heron Hall, like, nobody was looking for him, right? Like, I mean, I think maybe if they found him that first day, like, who cares? But then after that, it's not like they're like, oh my god, that Baker kid is missing. Like, we gotta go get him.
I disagree with that, actually. I don't think they were looking for Arya any more than they were looking for Hot Pie. They didn't know who Arya was. They were looking for them because they stole valuable horses. That's why they were in trouble.
And killed a dude.
The guardsman.
But I think after that first day is what I'm saying, though. Like, there's still not this massive search for him, is all I'm saying.
Isn't your point, though, Jeff? Like, he has, like, you're saying he has nothing to play for. He has nowhere to go. Like, he was a bum living off the streets in King's Landing whose life was so bad.
Yeah, he's never been up here, probably, either.
Yeah, he decided, I'm going to go freeze my life is so bad in King's Landing. I'm going to go freeze my ass off on the wall for the rest of my life. Right? He was an orphan boy. Like,
oh, yeah, that's right. They were headed to the wall, right?
That's how bad his life was in King's Landing. He just upgraded huge, right? He went through some shit to get here. But this is a huge upgrade from living on the wall for the rest of his life, or being
all
a bum
coming up,
Hot
Pie.
Yeah. I mean, he probably would have been chill with baking at Heron Hall. Like, he didn't have that bad of a job at Heron Hall. Right.
Yeah.
He was like, why are we leaving? I'm baking
but I think
bread.
at the same time, I think he was probably a little scared, right? Like, I mean, you have to be kind of scared of these dudes.
Well, we didn't see how the conversation at Heron Hall went with Hot Pie, but when Arya's like to Gendry, like, let's get out of here, he's like, why? Who cares? It doesn't, like, exactly what you said, it doesn't matter. And she had to convince him by saying Vargo Hoat's going to take over, which was true. I think Rue said Vargo is going to take over.
Yeah, that's what
lead. But she added in the fact that he was going to cut off everyone who works for him's legs. That he's going to cut off everyone's ankle. That's how she
so
had
that
to
they
get
wouldn't
Gendry.
be able to leave.
Yeah, exactly. That's how she had to get Gendry to leave. She lied saying Vargo was going to cut off his leg if he stayed, and presumably he said the same thing to Hot Pie. But I'm just pointing out, I think you're right. I think both of those guys probably like their life in Heron Hall, because Gendry's in the same boat. Like, he is somebody because he's Robert's bastard, but he doesn't know that. He's just a fucking blacksmith.
Yeah, he's banging. He's making swords and shit. He's doing what he'd like to do.
Exactly.
He's doing his hobby.
Living the life.
Yeah,
he's practically gone from the, like, in terms of, like, the record at this point. Like, nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows who he is. Like, I mean, he's essentially, even if Cersei came into town, she wouldn't be like, that's him.
Just clarifying,
they don't know who he is.
You're bringing up the fact that early on, when they had first left, Cersei did actually send people after him.
Yeah, saying,
yes, I know there's a bastard in this group. Go get him.
Yep.
That was
and he had a bull helmet, right?
But I mean, he's been so far removed from all that. Like, nobody knows who he is. He's not going to be like, oh yeah, I was with the group that left King's Landing to go to the Wall. Like,
I think Jeff's right. But I also
what did
agree
Jeff
with
say?
you. He said that he did have a distinguishing helmet.
He did, but that's gone as well.
And he doesn't have it anymore.
But he does want it back. So.
And like, he's a needle in a haystack. And I don't know if anyone's actually looking for him. Even if he was, he's a needle in a haystack. I don't know if a bull's head helmet is even a big enough distinguisher.
With no ID. Yeah, he's got no ID. So she missed Hot Pie, but Harwin kind of has taken his place in, like, her social life, I guess. Like, she's familiar with Harwin, so they're talking. She kind of tells the story of how pretty much everything from.
He's the one that she grew up with, kind of at Winterfell. Yeah, and I'm just saying that because I didn't. It took me a little bit to remember who he was at first. So
yeah, so she knew the family. Like, they probably grew up kind of together a little bit. He brushed her horse, right? That was like the end of the last. Like, you took care of my horse, basically. You know me.
Well, yeah, he's the master of horses' son.
Yeah. So the first thing that she actually tells him is, and it's one of the first things that she experienced in her journey, was running into his dad as she was trying to escape King's Landing. He was dead in the stables.
Was he dead or dying?
I think he was
one of the two. He dead.
Dying, yeah. Found him dying in the stables the day she escaped. And he says, like, he always said he would die in a stable, but we thought it would be like a ill-tempered stallion,
horse kicking him in the
lions.
head.
Yeah.
And then it's how Harwin. Then it's how Yoren escaped from King's Landing with her, and then how she got to Harrenhal.
Which is funny, though, because this is what I just said that Gendry isn't doing, but now here she is doing exactly that, right? Telling essentially, here's my story.
Mm-hmm.
However, she is Arya Stark, and she does know this dude, so she does have a reason to trust him. I mean, times are weird. She's a kid. Yeah. She knows this dude.
I mean, I don't think she's leaving out any or giving any details that's like
over the top. Like
what? I mean, what's he gonna do with like? Yeah, Yoren helped me escape, and then I got captured at Harrenhal. Then I escaped from Harrenhal. Like, what are they gonna do? Take her back to Harrenhal? Like,
yeah, nothing she's saying here is what's like I think impacting their decision to take her prisoner versus like letting her go on her way. I think that as soon as she said her name, or as soon as Harwin said it's the Hand's daughter at the end of the last chapter, as soon as he says that, she's a prisoner now.
She's taken.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, she is super valuable, and they have a point. And then they get into it later that like even Beric's a decent man, and so like this may be nothing, but he's our boss. So like everything goes through him.
Yeah.
Especially the fucking Hand's daughter.
Yeah, the most important things definitely go through.
You're the golden pigeon.
The golden squirrel.
Spoiler. Squirrel.
So exactly. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
she is withholding some info from him. She's not telling him that she killed the stable boy and that she killed the guard at Harrenhal. She makes the reference to like I don't want to tell him all the details because he reminds me of my dad, and I wouldn't want to tell him those things.
I thought that was a cool like little line, like some things you just couldn't have your father knowing. Which like I'm a cold-blooded murderer now. Yeah, makes sense. Keep that off the list.
I'm just flipping coins and killing guards.
Yeah. So besides her own murder, there's another thing that she doesn't tell Harwin, which is the stuff about Jaqen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How do you tell somebody that, right?
No one believes that.
Yeah, he might not even buy it. Yeah.
Oh, he changed his face with his hand?
Well, that, and just like, I met this dude, and he killed 3 people for me, or 2 people, and...
So then she does think that, I still keep that coin, I keep it under my belt, pull it out at nighttime, whisper Valar Morghulis, and...
I think that's just so we didn't forget about that stuff.
Yeah, list of
names.
Can
I say one thing really quick? It's going to be really quick. Keeping this coin under her belt is like the most safe place to keep it.
It seems very unsecure. I agree.
I guess she doesn't have pockets.
Put it in your sock or something.
I doubt she has socks either. I was thinking that too, because like a sock is a good place to keep a coin.
It might be like a super tight belt that like they keep other stuff under. And
I don't know.
Am I crazy? When I was little, I feel like I used to put like quarters in my socks sometimes. Not like a lot, maybe just like 1 or 2 in each sock. Just so
is that how you turn out 6'7"?
Just because then they would never stay there. They'd always end up sliding down and like basically just getting caught in like the part of your sock between the heel and your toe, and they would just kind of slide along the bottom of your foot when you walk sometimes.
Oh, that sounds awful. That sounds absolutely awful. I would never want to have that experience.
What would you do with these quarters that you put in your socks?
I feel like one time I just I had pants without pockets on, and I
went to the arcade.
Exactly. Like I went to the grocery store, and I just didn't want to carry the coins on the way home, okay. So I put the coins in my sock, and by the time I got home,
you put them in the little McDonald's jar, and you donate them.
By the time I got home, they had gone into the bottom, that area of my foot that I'm talking about, and I was just like,
I believe it. They worked their way to the bottom. Yeah,
and I was just you know what? I kind of like this. This kind of like tickles and feels kind of good.
Kind of like this. I thought you hated this. I thought this was an unpleasant feeling.
No, I'm saying, have you ever done it?
I like,
because I think after that, then I would actually just do that sometimes. I would just like, you know what?
Not on
purpose. Chuck a couple quarters.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Some kids put baseball cards in their bike spokes. Nelson puts quarters in his socks.
I really hope one of our viewers comments below and says, Nelson, I do that too. Don't feel weird.
I hope somebody does as well, so we can kick them out of the Discord.
Do that. All right, so the next part that we go in this conversation kind of with Harwin, which probably lasted over a couple of times, is Harwin telling them...
Hold on, somebody's got to read the list of names. I like the list of names.
Dude, no, why?
Sir Gregor Dunson, Polliver, Rap the Sweetling, Tickler and the Hound, Sir Ilan, Sir Meryn, Queen Cersei, King Joffrey,
Yep.
So stupid.
We recently, in like the last or the second, like one of the previous Arya chapters, like the last two, we went over why she hates all these people. So we're not going to do that again. But
are you sure? Why not? Why not? Should we go over it again?
I at least like reading it. Come on, it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, and I forget why she hates some of them, but we're gonna let it at that.
We'll cover it next
remember
time.
the next time
we'll
we go
next
through.
list, yeah.
If you forget, go back to Arya 2 and listen to Nelson describe each.
It might be Arya 1. I'm not sure, but yeah.
All right, so now we get Harwin telling Arya what happened when him and Ned's men went out to get the mountain.
We finally get the story of Beric.
Yeah, even kind of like a real reminder of the setup, right? So how'd that get set up?
Well, this was Tyrion got captured.
Cat took Tyrion. Yep. Step 1. Yep. Step 2, Tywin sends the mountain out.
Yeah, doing some burning of a few villages. It's like
raping, pillaging.
Yeah,
just mayhem on the countryside.
Right? Yep.
Step 3, farmers come to Ned and be like, "Hey, the mountain's killing us all."
Exactly, but that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the plan. That's true. That's Ned 9 in Game of Thrones. We see that whole chapter. That's the one where Ned's actually sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the plan, right? Things kind of went screwy. That's not what Tywin was trying to do. Tywin was trying to draw Ned out.
For sure, yeah.
By burning these people.
Yeah, the attacking of the towns is because he thought Ned would answer himself, but Ned couldn't answer because
Jaime was smashed.
Jaime didn't catch word, and he
fucked up. Essentially, he ruined his dad's plan.
Jaime and Tywin weren't on the same page, exactly, and he attacked Ned in the streets.
Killed Jory. The horse fell on Ned, injured Ned. Ned couldn't go anywhere, so Ned instead sent out Beric. And Harwin.
He sends out Beric, Thoros of Myr, Sir Gladden Wild, and Lothar Mallory, and he tells them each to take 20 men.
And Harwin's in there.
And then Harwin's group goes, led by Alan, who is the captain of the guard after Jory dies. He's the new Jory 2.0, basically. So he's the one who goes for Ned. But he says they have 6 score.
Which is 60, right?
Score is 20. Ned tells each of these people to take 20 men. And I just listed 5 men. Beric, Thoros, Gladden Wild, Lothar Mallory, and then Ned's 20 men. I think the 6th is Raymond Derry, because I think here he says Raymond Derry. I think
Soul Mountain's lay Raymond Derry.
Yeah, and Raymond Derry is the head, like the lord of one of the 3 houses that had come to Ned and been like, "Hey, our shit's getting fucked up by the mountain." So he just like took 20 of his own men back to, I guess not to his castle, but with the rest of them to go fight the mountain.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yep.
So they got trapped at the Mummer's Ford.
Yeah, it was a trap.
Which, like, I mean, the place is called like, "Hey, this is a trap," right? Like, that's kind of the name of this location.
That is true, because Ford is like a crossing, and it's like a
Fool's Crossing.
Yeah, that's true. I bet you it has a purpose, like on George's part, and I never thought about that.
What's the history of Mummer's Ford, Nelson? Figure that out.
It's right next to Pink Maiden, which is one of the houses, one of the 3 houses that got mad about this.
Has somebody else gotten caught at the Mummer's Ford? That's what you need to find out.
I'm not sure, but I don't have a map ready for you guys again this time either. But I'll put it in later. The Mummer's Ford is just straight south of River Run. One of the rivers goes basically from River Run straight south. And the Mummer's Ford is basically just a little bit further south down that river. So it's kind of the way you think of it. It's like the Mummer's Ford is the southwest. Yeah, the southwest border of the Riverlands. River Run is kind of the northwest border of the Riverlands. And then it kind of goes to Harrenhal, which is like the eastern border of what people call the Riverlands. Or I guess the Riverlands could go the whole way to the sea. Some of that people call the Crowdlands. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like they're entering the Riverlands. That's where the Westerland goes.
Oh no, we've broken Nelson. We've made him expand too much on history.
It's just the border.
Okay, it's the border. We get it.
Jeff asked.
I didn't ask that much.
You were sarcastically asking, and you got what you asked for.
All right, so we figure out this battle, I guess, and I'm going to say 4 score died, which would be 80. 80 people died?
Yeah, it was bad. They got whomped, right?
And 2 score survived, I think you said?
Yes.
They managed to, like, rally and get out of there.
Yeah, Thoros rallied the troops and let him out, but...
Thoros is the flaming sword guy?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad he's still around, by the way.
Yeah, but I think the more important thing is he's the Red Priest, right? Like he's like the boy Melisandre, the man version of Melisandre. But again, he doesn't seem very. I forget who says it. Maybe Jaime. He's not actually really religious. Like he jokes that he actually just likes the red robes because it hides wine stains and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
that's exactly what he said.
Yeah, he doesn't seem as geeked up as Melisandre about it. But I think it's interesting because some of the stuff that we say here. So Kyle, you want to read that? Thoros drew a foot of lance from his chest, and just read that next paragraph.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know where you're at. Hang on.
I think I'm right here.
Yeah, then go for it, Jeff. I read the other one.
Beric got wounded. We didn't say that. Beric was wounded badly. Thoros drew a foot of lance from his chest that night and poured boiling wine into the hole it left. Every man of us was certain his lordship would be dead by daybreak, but Thoros prayed with him all night beside the fire, and when dawn came, he was still alive and stronger than he'd been. It was a fortnight before he could mount a horse, but his courage kept us strong. He told us that our war had not ended at the Mummer's Ford, but had only begun there, and that every man of ours who'd fallen would be avenged tenfold.
Yep.
So nothing quite as crazy as a shadow baby out of this. But I mean, it's crazy though, like to pull a foot of like a thick spear out of somebody. Yeah. And then they just poured some wine in it and he's okay. Like
and I think she mentions it later in this chapter, but if not, like we've heard of him like Beric dying like multiple times.
Well, they mention it here in another paragraph. Or like once Arya thinks about Beric again, he's like the mountain killed him twice.
That's true. Yeah. She does mention it here. Yeah.
Vargo Hoat, I think, killed him.
Vargo Hoat was one, and then somebody else killed him too.
Twice, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happened next was while they were recovering, the mountain and Tywin's people just kept going west, right? And again, this is, if we're thinking back, this is while Tyrion's still captured, and Tyrion kind of meets Tywin at the Battle of the Green Fork, which, if you're looking at that map, is on the right side of the other river
with the Boltons.
That's where they meet the Boltons. So this is before that, right? So this is while the Mountain's men are working their way to there. So they're going past.
So east
to east. Yep. And he's saying like, yeah, we really couldn't do much but harry their rear, right? And I bet you it's interesting because I bet you even if we go, and I wonder if George had it planned or he's kind of just like making it make sense back here. But if we go back to like book 1, like when Tyrion finally gets to Tywin, he says like, and Beric's band has been being a pain in the ass, but they're not really anything too much to worry about.
Yeah, they've been just picking stuff off.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're going west. They're just kind of fucking with them the whole time. And then I think they just get news, right? That everything changed. While they're like fucking with Tywin,
Robert's dead.
Yeah. Rob died, the Hand died, and Cersei's now on the throne. So
yeah, and it's Joffrey as king.
They went from kingsmen to outlaws.
Yeah, they basically thought that at some point Robert would show up and join them. That they were like holding the whole ground until Robert comes to back us up. But then they're like, fuck, Robert's dead. And Ned's dead.
Yeah, now Ned's dead too. Yeah, exactly.
And I think there's a cool quote. We were sent out by the King's Hand to capture the outlaws, but all of a sudden we were the outlaws and the people we were supposed to capture were now the King's Hand because Tywin was the hand.
Yeah. So they're just like, no, fuck it. We're going to fight these people till we're all dead. And Harwin's like, something strange happened. Like once somebody would die, 2 would come to fill their place. So they just continue. They're growing almost, I guess, linearly if it's 2 to 1, but
they have a just cause essentially, and the people are fed up. Like they're the police of the area now, and like fighting back what they can.
Yeah,
maybe not police, but the resistance. How's that?
I think it's a cool little hoorah speech because Harwin says like when we heard news, a lot of us just like some people just wanted to like yield and be like, okay, well we're done now. Like let's just go home. But he's like, Beric wouldn't have any of it. We were still the king's men, he said, and these were the king's people the lions were savaging. If we could not fight for Robert, we would fight for them until every man of us was dead, and so we did. But as we fought, something queer happened. For every man we lost, 2 showed up to take his place. A few were knights and squires of gentle birth, but most were common men, field hands, fiddlers and innkeeps, servants and shoemakers, even 2 septons, men of all sorts, and women, too, children, dogs.
Dogs. I want some killer dogs. Yeah. I had a wolf one time, but I threw rocks at it.
Yep.
All right, so they
what a weird memory there.
Right? They come up on an abandoned village, which is actually like a secret hideout. It's almost like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan. Like they just start coming out of trees and shit.
Yeah, fake city.
Yeah. And they end up having a pretty big feast. Where the big part about this is that people came by earlier looking for the Kingslayer.
Yep. Hey, have you guys seen Jaime Lannister? And Lem's like, yeah, go look in the dungeons at Riverrun. And like, oh, he escaped.
Yep, this is where we get news here, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows it's Cat though. I did kind of listen for that, but there was none of that in here.
Yeah.
Nope, no cat jargon.
Well, you would think that would get out, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people had to be looking for him.
I don't know if you would tell him that.
They know he's gone.
Set him free. It's much better for your reputation if you say
I
escaped.
agree.
Oh, yeah. You said the cat
mom
would tell him?
set him free.
Gotcha.
No, I'm not saying Cat would tell him. I'm just saying that news would get out.
Yeah, gotcha.
It would just rumors eventually would start swirling about how he escaped, right?
Yeah.
Like that's got to happen.
You would think inside Riverrun.
I would agree with Jeff. They would probably intentionally try and keep it. Yeah.
You try and keep that hushed.
Try
okay,
and keep a tight lip on that one. What do you want to say, Nelson?
So in this chapter, we got Angai again, we got Lem, we got Thomas Seven. So these are the three guys.
Angai's the archer. Tom of 7 strings is the singer. Lemon's the pissy lemon cloak. He pisses himself.
Who Arya broke
smashed his face. Yep.
Yeah.
Headbutted him, right?
Hit him with a tankard.
Oh yeah.
And then we got a new Taroshi, Greenbeard.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do. Go over the two. There's 2 new ones that I caught. Greenbeard, who's a Tyrosh who's in charge. At one point, she says like he's the one in charge of this like group of that they're with, and then a one-eyed guy in a rusty pot helm called Jack Be Lucky.
Jack Be Lucky.
And I bring that up here because he says, "No way, Jamie escaped from Riverrun cellar."
I've been there.
I've been down there.
I've been down there. Exactly.
I've seen those. I've seen them dungeons. No way out.
And also, Arya thinks that like, why do they call him Jack Be Lucky? Like having one eye doesn't seem very lucky. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe it's ironic. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But basically, that's all that happens. Arya then goes to sleep and has a dream.
Nope, she falls asleep to a song.
Oh, okay. So they sing. Thomas 7 strings gets all fired up.
Well, hold on. Before the song actually, because the song
we're gonna kill him. We're gonna take him to Barrack. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's like, and what's Barrack gonna do with him? You think one of the villagers says you think he'll hang him?
Will they hang him? He's too pretty to hang.
I think again, what Angai says here is kind of telling because Kyle earlier said like Barrack's a nice guy, but what Angai says here kind of. He's like, oh, will he hang him? He's like, no, he'll give him a trial first. Then he'll hang him.
He'll hang him.
He'll always gives him a trial. Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Scarecrow in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, death by sentencing or death by
exile.
Exile. Yeah, exactly. It's
exile.
Like it's like lose.
Walk out into the broken frozen river. All right, so we're gonna maybe get a little more into what Barrack's plan of action is with the captives.
So yeah, the reason I wanted to bring that up before the song is because basically the song's about the outlaws. We heard this song is about the outlaws that Jamie got knighted fighting. Right? Jamie told us a few chapters ago he got fighting when he got sent out basically as a squire on his first real mission to go help the person he was squiring for fight against the Kingswood Brotherhood. And this seems to be a song about them. I think it's just kind of funny that Tom starts singing the song right after Angai says that line about Barrack.
The brothers of the Kingswood, they were an outlaw band. The forest was their castle, but they roamed across the land. No man's gold was safe from them, nor any maiden's hand. Oh, the brothers of the Kingswood, that fearsome outlaw band.
It's always interesting because I would have done it a different rhythm.
Of course you would.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If I sang it again right now, it'd be probably a different tune. One thing we kind of skipped over too when they were talking about Jamie and kind of where is he at? Is he in the dungeons? Is he not in the dungeons? Did he escape? Greenbeard's like, well, we got to get word to Barrack. Thoros will be able to see him in the flames. So
yeah. And Angai's like, there's a fire right there. And Greenbeard's like,
Greenbeard. I'll burn my beard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like, you're right. I think that was interesting. Yep.
She goes to sleep and has a dream about Winterfell. It's kind of like ghostly.
I like that. I feel like we're kind of all on the same page and we can kind of talk freely about these dreams, right? Like Kyle is on the same page as she's like doing some warging stuff. This dream is weird to me. Is this like a warging dream? Is Nymeria at Winterfell?
I don't think so. Like the weird part about it is she tasted blood like Bran, but the setting seems
Does Bran taste blood?
Yes. He tastes meat and blood. For sure. Yeah,
when he was...
Well, when his wolf's eating, but here she just like looks at a wolf and
no,
blood,
I feel like he's done that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like even the setting is weird. Like it's like ghostly, right? Like
it fades away to smoke or something, right?
Right. So I feel like it is really a dream.
But it felt like it was still something special to it in a sense. Like if that makes.
I mean, it's definitely weird for sure. It's definitely something to raise your eyebrows about.
I almost feel like it's her warging into Nymeria and Nymeria having a vision of Winterfell somehow. Because
I wouldn't She's warging into Nymeria while Nymeria is dreaming.
This is the double Inception. Is that what's happening?
That is. We just made it to the second level. We just made it to the second level of Inception.
When I read it, I think you're gonna agree with me.
He's gonna blow our mind.
She's warging into Nymeria, and Nymeria is just like seeing a vision that fades away, and then she's back like where she was, surrounded by wolves and trees. She was alone outside the castle, up to her knees in mud. She could see the gray walls ahead of her, but when she tried to reach the gates, every step seemed harder than the one before, and the castle faded before her until it looked more like smoke than granite.
Hang on, can we pause there? So that part to me sounds like typical dream logic, to just like, where you like try and run, you can't run. You try and get where you're going, and you just can't get there.
Sure, up to here, no hint of Nymeria.
Okay.
Just Arya seems like an Arya weird dream. But then this next part. And there were wolves as well, gaunt gray shapes stalking through the trees all around her. So the trees all around her. So now she's completely surrounded by wolves all around her, right? So there's no more castle. Their eyes shining. Whenever she looked at them, she remembered the taste of blood. Yeah. I'm not saying this is how it is. That's my interpretation of it. Like the castle has faded now, and she's back in the woods. It's kind of how I see that.
Maybe I either take it as it's a full dream of hers. Or I could believe your side. I think that's more likely than Nymeria being at Winterfell.
So then, what do you
just here?
So then, what do you think? How it's like her dreaming of Winterfell and then her really quick at the end switching into Nymeria, or?
I think it's just two dreams. I think Arya is dreaming about. I don't know that she is. I don't know. And now you've talked me into believing that she switches into Nymeria. It kind of falls into the actual warg dream or whatever you want to call it.
Well, the thing is, I would think that too, but then it says, and then there were. So it's like a continuation. It's not like, oh, and then all of a sudden I was somewhere else. Which, again, that's why I think Nymeria is seeing a vision, which I know sounds crazy.
When you dream, you can flip settings like that. So I don't know.
Where I was going to go with that is Bran Summer. Like when the last Bran chapter, or maybe it's the first one of this book, right? He's under the crypt. He's in the crypts. He wargs into Summer. Summer sees Winterfell burning. All the smoke coming out of Winterfell. Yeah. And then that's basically what Bran leaves Summer, and Bran goes back into his body, and he's like, hey, we can leave here now, is kind of what happens, right? It's a very condensed version.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
Me saying Nymeria is having a vision, I'm wondering if somehow, you're just going to say I'm crazy, it's Arya warging into Nymeria, and Nymeria having like a connection to Summer, where she's seeing what Summer's seeing.
No. I'm not sipping that tea. I would have sipped.
That's totally fine. I know it's a stretch, but that's kind of like, that's the only thing. It's a weird ass dream. That's if you're trying to make something of it.
We did kind of see Bran in Jon's dream.
Exactly, similar like that. There's definitely a connection through wolves, cross wolves.
I mean, I hate to give credence to Nelson's stupid ideas, but I mean, he might be onto something here.
Anything's possible when you're talking about warging.
All right, I'm for it. I don't know that I agree, but I think it's an acceptable
original idea too. I didn't look that up anywhere, Jeff. So
I don't believe you.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
I'm sure Preston. I'll Google it right now. And Preston Greenfield or whatever the fuck his name was. What's his name?
Preston Jacobs.
Preston Jacobs definitely figured that out.
Anyway,
all right. So they get back on the road the next morning. It's actually a nice day. The sun actually pops out.
Yep.
Arya realizes that they're definitely going the wrong way now.
Arya's compass shows up. Arya finally gets the compass,
and she flips out like this isn't the way to River Run. They're like, you're not going to River Run. Barrick's gonna decide what you're doing.
Yeah, she's like, guys, we're not going the right way. They're like, turns out we know that. We have known that the whole time.
Turns out you're not going to River Run.
Yeah, we know where the fuck River Run is. We're not lost. It's that way. We're going this way.
Actually, another interesting question. At one point, at the beginning, when Arya's like, Gendry, we're going the wrong way. He's like, oh, this is just the outlaw secret way. Tom and Lem have lived here for years.
So they're Riverlands people, I guess.
Well, it just makes me think that they weren't with all the people that Ned sent out. So they must have been. They must have been join-ups.
Yeah, they seem. I mean, there's bound to be join-ups at this point, right? Like there are only like 6 dudes left. Everybody else is join-ups.
Sure, but isn't Lem like an actual like fighter? Like he's actually wearing like.
Yeah, they said there were some more knights and squires that joined up.
I mean, cool. Angway sounds like a pretty damn good archer too.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he was
shooting for somebody.
That's what I'm saying. The good people you'd think were the original ones sent out, like Angway was. Again, we don't know if Angway was, but he was in King's Landing.
Maybe, I don't know. They could have just been a good archer walking down the road, be like, "Hey, can I join?"
No, Angway was he was at the tournament.
Yeah, he won the tournament.
the King's Hand tournament or whatever.
Right,
like
right. He lost all his money on horse.
Again, doesn't matter. I just thought it interesting that that they said that. So
all right, Greenbeard's like, yo, when you find a green golden squirrel, you take that to your leader.
Yeah, you don't just eat it yourself. You gotta take that to somebody.
Yeah, and this is where she's like, oh shit, I gotta go to Barrack. Like, I thought he was dead, and I looked up the names. It's Vargo Hoat, Anne-Marie Lorch, and the Mountain twice.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe now it's 5 times, 5 possible deaths. But
yeah,
and she's like, fuck this, boom, out. She's got a fast ass horse. She's gone through the woods, over the hills, through the woods, over the hill, through the plain, looking back. She's out running them all.
This was smart, man.
Harwin.
Like,
fuck it. Why not?
Home free.
The nice thing about what she knows is they're not going to kill her.
Yeah, that's true.
She could let the horse rest and then go again. Like maybe like break Harwin's horse's leg or something.
She should have had Gendry throw like a block for her. Like, he has no, like, you know what I mean? He doesn't care. Who cares? Like, Gendry, tackle Harwin real quick, and then I'll take off.
Here's my thing. I guess it's a little bit the way the track. Like, she said she had a really good horse, but I guess Harwin's just a better rider, so he was able to ride through the woods quicker than her.
She fucks up too. But before we get into that, real quick, I want to say, right before she takes off, a couple Jaqen quotes, right? She's like, not Jaqen, Sirio, calm as still water, quick as a snake. Like, I like how, like, when
swift
it's time for Arya, it's like
swift as a deer.
Swift as a deer might have been in there.
Goes back to her training, man.
When she's like, when it's time for fucking action, she's like back to the serious stuff. I just think it's cool.
That's what happens, right? It becomes second nature, and then that's when the training
practice.
Kicks in. Yeah.
That's why you practice.
Yeah. So, but to your point, Jeff, she says it's weird because she's like, I'm running. I'm going across a field. Now I want to cut it into the woods. She says she purposely cuts into the woods. Then when she's in the woods, she's like, my horse is faster. That means if I'm in an open field, I'm better. And I'm like, well, then why did you run into the woods?
Yeah.
Like,
I think the woods is a smart idea to break sight.
Maybe at
break
first,
a sight line at first. You gain a little space.
And again, I don't know enough about horse riding. How much does like riding versus horse? Like, how much does like being skilled at riding versus horse? Yeah, matter.
It probably helps that she's the smallest.
That's what I was saying. Like, if it is just a straight line, the horse is gonna win. If it's through the woods and over jumps and shit like that, I bet the rider has a little bit to do
more of an advantage. But I disagree because when she gets caught in an open field on a better horse.
Yeah, but he's been gaining the whole time. So, like, maybe the horse is a sprinter and he gets tired. Maybe he just wasn't conditioned for it.
Yeah, it wasn't
his
race.
Martyr.
Either way, Harwin catches her, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, you're my dad's man, and nope, I'm with the Lightning Lord now and my brothers." Yeah. She's like, "What the fuck? You ain't got no brothers?"
He does tell her she rode like a Northman. He's like kind of proud of her. You rode like your Northman.
And her aunt.
You had a little bit. You got what your aunt had.
But
she's disappointed.
Can you come peacefully?
I mean, she has a right to be disappointed.
For sure. She trusted a guy. The first guy she was able to trust.
Well, and she thought she was safe, and that's what's fucked, right? Like, if he would have told her probably back then, like, look,
we're not taking
you. Got to go to Barrack to
We're taking you. Yeah, like.
I mean, she probably still have ran, but I think she would have respected him more.
It's interesting because, like, we haven't seen Harwin's perspective, but I feel like just from this last bit here that he has probably been on a Jon journey, like a similar journey to Jon, just because she's like, you're my dad's man.
He's like, I belong to this now.
Like Jon was, and Jon wanted to go help Robb, right? He like rode away and had to get taken back by his friends. And what he says is, no, I belong to my brothers now. And she's like, you're only son. What do you mean your brothers? And he's like, Lem, Jack. And I feel like this is what Jon would say if somebody was like, Jon, come help Robb right now. He'd be like, no,
I'm with Sam. And
I
live here now.
Pip.
This is home.
Another just quick thing I definitely scoot over because I wasn't going to let Nelson read the whole chasing. Greenbeard was basically like, hey, we're going to take you to Barrack. And Barrack might at the end of the day say, send her to River Run. But
big deal.
We need Barrack to make that
decision.
He
that's his decision.
Yeah, he'll probably want to do what you want to do anyway. We just got to make a pit stop first. Yeah.
So, all right, Kyle, thoughts on Arya's future?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm bummed now because apparently I thought we had gotten over this, her being captured.
You were locked into her getting the River Run.
I'm still on that. Why not?
It is a different capture. It's a different capture than being captured by the Mountain, though. Like these people are like friendlier. And I want to get this last quote in. I think it's interesting that she thinks she had been better off as Squab. No one would take Squab captive, or Nan, or Weasel, or Ari, or the orphan boy. I was a wolf, she thought, but now I'm just some stupid little lady again. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, she finally exposed her secret, and she thought she did the right thing, and it just screwed everything up.
Yeah, I just think and it makes sense because it's in a wartime, and obviously highborns get taken captive. But in general, you'd think it's way better to be a highborn lady than any
probably
of these
a highborn captive too. If she was captive, they'd put her in a room. Imagine she was at King's Landing. She'd be eating good, maybe getting ready to attend a wedding and eat feast.
Sansa would rather be a highborn captive like she is than any of these other names.
Absolutely,
exactly,
true.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say that now. This is going to go out into the world too, right? This news, once Beric knows, people are going to find out.
That's true. Well, I feel like most people, it's weird because I feel like people in King's Landing right now just assume she's dead.
Yeah, everybody thinks she's dead.
Well, Kat thinks she's alive and well in King's Landing.
Yeah, well, so that's true.
I guess there's some sphere of knowledge that growing around King's Landing, how far outside of King's Landing has got is questionable, but not to Riverrun, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Has it gotten outside the Red Keep?
But no one knows exactly where she is. But to your point, now there's a collection of people somewhere that know the truth about Arya.
Yeah.
That's not just Gendry. Before it was just Gendry. Yeah. It may be Hot Pie, but yeah.
Maybe Popeye's dumbass don't even know.
So any predictions for what's next?
I mean, I'm like I said, I'm still hoping and riding this horse that she makes it to Riverrun.
Beric sends her to Riverrun.
Yeah, I hope Beric does the right thing. He sounds like a little bit of a hard ass, but I think this situation's a little different than, him running into some old lord out there or something like that. This is Arya, so hopefully he does the right thing.
Cool. All right. Well, one last thing I want to talk about for this chapter. Did you see the next chapter?
Yes.
What do you think?
Sam's alive, I guess, right?
Sam apparently is alive because he has a chapter.
Another new. Yeah, because Jamie was new to this book, so. Right.
Yeah, and I will say, so far we actually haven't had a chapter that was in the last, a POV that was in the last book.
What's that?
There's a POV that was in the last book that we haven't had yet.
That wasn't, or
Danny?
Was?
Theon? Which Theon's end at the last book.
Theon was in the last book.
You thought he wasn't dead. Yeah, he was a POV in the last book, and there's been no POVs
I
in
didn't
the
understand
chapter.
the sentence you were saying.
Yeah, he was at the castle and
being attacked.
Bolton. Yeah.
And you thought that they're not going to kill Theon. He'll be alive. But so far, we haven't had any Theon chapters.
We haven't heard otherwise.
True. But at this point,
gun.
The last cat chapter we had, they didn't even know that the castle had been taken by.
True.
But they thought Theon still was in charge of the castle. So there's a little outdated news in the South.
Yep.
Before Nelson gets on a tangent about characters and how many chapters they each get, let's sign Kyle off.
We'll see you guys in the spoiler section. We'll see Kyle in the next one. For Sam,
Bye.
1. Samwell 1.
Later, nerds.
Samwell. Tali.
Bye, Kyle.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. See you on the next one for Sam 1. Now on a spoiler section for Arya 3. Jeff, what we got?
I don't have anything, dude.
I don't have much here.
Beric is revived by Thoros 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that. I don't think...
He dies a little bit more. It's weird that he comes back stronger, because doesn't he die a little bit more each time?
That is true. I never noticed that. He does. There's a cool speech he gives later where he talks about how he's forgotten a lot. He forgets
He
stuff,
feels like less of himself type of thing.
Yeah, he doesn't even remember what his castle looks like or the women he used to love, stuff like that. Yeah. I had a few things, nothing big though. So first thing is a show thing. She does come back to this end. To Kyle's point, Kyle's like, we're going to see Hot Pie again. We never see Hot Pie again.
We don't know that.
I'm saying in the next book and a half, 2.5 books.
In the books that are written, we don't see Hot Pie. Correct.
Nobody, not just Arya. Nobody sees Hot Pie, right?
Yeah, well, fuck him.
I don't know if that's true or not. I think that's true. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Brienne comes through here and feeds Gross. I don't think so, though.
I would say it's true.
But in the show, Arya does come back to Hot Pie.
Arya goes back and...
I just wanted to see what you thought. Do you think that'll happen in the books? Will we see Hot Pie again? From Arya or anyone else?
It made sense in the show for her to see Hot Pie. It was like she was in that area and like, okay, I'm going home.
Well, it was cool because he served a purpose. It wasn't just fanfare. He was the one that told her Jon Snow's won the Battle of the Bastards.
Right.
Which it could do a similar thing. It could be very similar. But
it could be similar.
I feel like she would hear about that some other way. Again, who knows? Maybe. But
so when she's like, "I'm going to kill the queen," that was with Lannister men, right? But does she tell Hot Pie that too? That she's going to kill Cersei?
Exactly.
I mean, Arya's just such a. Here's where I'm conflicted with Arya. She becomes a little bit weirdo after the Faceless Men training.
You're talking about show now.
Yeah, I don't want her to be super like, I am no one. Like, she's not Jaqen. She's Arya. Like, Arya is like a spunky little.
I feel like she wasn't really like that. I feel like Bran was more like that than Arya was. Arya, her whole thing when she left Braavos was like, no, I'm not no one. I'm Arya Stark, and I'm going home.
Yeah, but then once she gets home and she's like, oh, I can kill you.
You're right. She was like strangely weird with like Gendry for no reason. I've seen death. He has many faces. Like, why not just speak like a normal dude? Yeah. You were friends with this guy.
Yeah. It's like, okay. But yeah, Bran's the same thing. Like, I'm not Bran. I'm the three-eyed raven. Like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Arya, but I see what you're saying now. Like, she does just kind of.
Arya was just a badass little girl running around, like telling people to fuck off, and then she was just like, and the way she stands with her sword, like tucked vertically, like behind her back, is just like weird too. I never liked that either. Like, hold your sword like a fucking human being.
Well, it's one of the things like walk lightly and carry a big stick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you think that is like very true for assassins. Like, you don't want anyone to know you're an assassin.
Yeah.
Arya is just so clearly an assassin. Like, so clearly an assassin. Yeah. Like,
just like the way she was strutting around. This is one thing I will say.
She never laughs.
I enjoyed.
Like, she's just like super serious.
Yeah,
like, yo,
that's what I'm saying. Like, her personality gets drained from her.
Yeah.
But what's great is she's walking around cocky as fuck. Like, episodes 1 and 2. Like, probably even like season 7. Like,
fights Brienne.
And then once the White Walkers come, she's sprinting down the halls of Winterfell screaming bloody murder because she's scared shitless.
Yeah. It does like show you how powerful they are. Yeah.
But then she comes flying out of the air like Michael Jordan in Space Jam. And
I had a shirt. I had a shirt that was that because I didn't hate that. I didn't really hate. I thought it was kind of badass how she drops it. Again, I think
I remember watching it live. You freaked out like she's gonna drop it.
I think it's cool when they set stuff up, and again, they didn't set that one up super deep. I think that she had dropped the knife.
She did it with Brienne
fight earlier that season, or was it the season earlier?
It was the season before, I want to say.
So yeah, that's a season and a half long setup. So say what you will, but that's I think that's a pretty cool setup, right? And people can say the blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes thing was a setup. That wasn't a setup. That was a retcon.
Right? Death has blue eyes or whatever.
They realized that they had mentioned that in season 3. I don't think for a second in season 3 when Melisandre said that they actually had all that shit planned.
Yeah,
maybe they did. I don't think so. They claimed to have though.
So, I mean, if she sees Hot Pie, I think it would be cool. Like, I honestly don't know where this book is gonna go.
What's cool is I think in the show Brienne sees Hot Pie first. Right, Brienne and Podrick are there, and he's like talking about pies. And, oh, you got to brown the butter, and she's like, I don't give a fuck, get out of here. Like, giving that kind of look. But it's cool because we know who it is.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Brienne like ask, did you see like a girl running around or like?
You're right, and he gives her bread in the shape of a wolf.
Yeah,
a better wolf. Yeah, none of that's in the book, but I think it would be cool if something similar happened, where a character who's not Arya, but who we know of, goes in there and feeds Hot Pie.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed.
Especially because at that point, Arya's across into Braavos. Like, he can't give her away anymore. Yeah. He spent his whole, like, basically the entire time together, he's, like, just slipping up on giving away too much info. And now he can't. He just doesn't know it anymore.
She's blind right now, right? Like, that's the last thing we saw of her was going blind.
I've read the Winds of Winter chapters, so I'm not sure what the most recent thing is. But
I think that's the most recent.
Spoilers, she doesn't stay blind. She's not blind in the Winds of Winter chapter.
I would assume she wouldn't stay blind. Okay. I'm assuming she's going to be blind for like a chapter or 2.
I don't exactly remember where dance ends, but she's definitely not blind in the Winds of Winter.
She's got to do her Rocky training scene blind. This is Eye of the Tiger. And she's just like stick fighting people with Eye of the Tiger in the background.
All right, next thing. Arya at one point says, I wish I had a good, mean dog, a lion-killing dog. And the Hound hasn't really actually killed any Lannisters, but she does end up with the Hound for like the second half of this book. Like, I wish I had a dog, and she ends up with the Hound.
He's going to kill Polliver, right? Or they're gonna get in a fight at some point.
Yeah, he pops off in an inn for sure. Yeah. I guess that's a good point. Like those count as lions. I was thinking like in the Battle of Blackwater, like if he would have killed like Tyrion or Joffrey, but he never like harmed a Lannister to this point.
I didn't even think of the Hound when it said dog, and she's gonna be with him. It's crazy how. Who
Jack B. Lucky or Tom, whoever it is, saying that we have like hounds, or Harwin, we have hounds on our side. He's talking about, I think there's one called the Huntsman, who does just have like a pack of dogs who they like use to like search for people.
Interesting. It's crazy the path that Arya is gonna go on. Like Kyle's not gonna see this at all.
What, the Faceless Men stuff and
just like even like
the Hound,
ending up with the Hound, getting to the twins. And then the Red Wedding happens, and then she ends up in Bravo. Like that shit's all crazy.
Yeah, it's all in this book too, which makes sense why we're getting so many Arya chapters. Like again, nothing's happening, but they like kind of need to get her story going because she's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Throughout this book, get the whole way to Riverrun and then to Bravos, pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. The last thing I had is kind of what you're saying. Like, just I feel like this inn might be a little bit like foreshadowing symbolism, just kind of like for Arya's future. And I feel like the only reason I notice this is because, and maybe it's nothing, but because I've been taking notes like a madman, and a lot of people, maybe if you're new to the podcast, you might not understand, like the way I take notes, I basically am creating a wiki where every time there's a new character, I create a new note and I link it every time that character is mentioned. So it's kind of like a very in detailed summary with links to every time a character is mentioned. However, in the inn, there's two characters who are mentioned but don't have names.
Boy and husband.
I just think that's interesting because Arya has so many fake names. Like she's like, and she becomes no one, and she's at this inn where there's no one, and even Hot Pie says like, "I'm not Hot Pie here. I'm just Boy." Like, he's basically saying like, "I'm no one here." Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I think it's kind of weird that nowhere else in my notes. And maybe it's also because there are people who are referenced like that, who are referenced like boy or lad, but they're not referenced like multiple times. So I don't actually put those people in my notes. If you show up more than once, you get referenced.
Yeah.
Or if you're like a big name, if you're an actual name and you're mentioned once, you're in.
What would you have to do to share your wiki? Would that be like buying a domain and putting it on the internet?
Well, I don't know if I can convert this to HTML, but it's in a proprietary app right now. So I can export each note individually, but at this point, there's thousands of individual notes.
Yeah,
I'm sure I could write a script to export them, but how I would export it out of the app and keep the links working, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. I'm sure there'd be a way to do it, though.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything. Like, Thoros is cool. I guess the trial, we're going to get a Hound trial. That's the trial we witness, and the Hound kills Beric, but then he lets him go, right?
Yeah, and again, I was kind of like giving Kyle fake information there, but like I was trying to make it seem like it's always a fraud trial. It's not really a fraud trial. Like it's a valid trial, pretty much. Mm-hmm. I think the reason
you made it seem like it was like Lady Stoneheart giving the trial, and it was like, all right, you're getting hanged.
I think the reason Anguy says it like that here is because it's Jaime. So like they're already assuming he's guilty, like
or has just every guilty person that he's faced, he's just killed, or like he's won type of thing too.
Oh, I was saying like even if it's not an actual trial by combat,
he's gonna,
Oh, but I guess to your point, if like they actually have the god on their side, if he's always going against guilty people, maybe he's actually getting gifted by the Lord of Light. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, cool. Short chapter.
All right.
So we'll see you guys in the next one for Sam 1. And thanks for listening. Like, subscribe. Hey, I looked at the YouTube analytics. Half of our YouTube views and watch time are non-subscribers. I thought maybe half would be the non-subscribers, but it wouldn't add up in view time if like non-subscribers are clicking on it being like, this isn't my thing and leaving. But you non-subscribers are sticking around. Hit the subscribe button. Help a brother out. Come on.
Or get us on iTunes or
if you're watching on iTunes or whatever, give a review. I don't know how that likes. Just hook a brother up.
Yeah, come on.
See you guys in the next one.
Bye.